Welcome back. New friends, new family. New day.
Sorry, I'm ready.
Okay. I like that during networking, Bianca called herself a bleeding heart. As another bleeding heart, fellow bleeding heart, Bianca McCall is a retired professional women's basketball player and licensed clinical therapist who has been the proud owner and operator of the behavioral health option DBA Reach It Now, headquartered in Las Vegas, Nevada. Bianca, a renowned speaker, is widely regarded as a subject matter expert in the social cultural impact of injury and trauma and areas of mental, emotional, and behavioral health. Her LinkedIn About section tells us that she's an experienced chief executive officer with a demonstrated history of working in the hospital and healthcare industry, skilled in medicine, training, public speaking, nonprofit organization, and crisis intervention. Bianca is a strong business development professional with her master's degree focused in marriage and family therapy, counseling from the University of Phoenix. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and help me welcome Bianca McCall as she delivers her speech today on increasing resilience and peak performance. Bianca.
So today I'm here to talk about the burning question of how do we retain our employees from a lens of peak performance and resilience. And really it starts with a shift in the factory worker paradigm, right? Because we have this idea that an employee has the sole purpose of producing or additional purpose of performing at peak levels, operating a machine. Certainly, amid pandemic and post-pandemic, we realized that it goes beyond kind of operating a machine, that we need to shift that paradigm and focus and begin to conceptualize an employee as an integrated person, and a person with a purpose to be the power behind the vision of the organization, and to promote a positive health culture within the organization. So most of you have heard me speak before. I'm a storyteller by nature. So I want to share a story about a woman who wakes up hours before her family of 5. And she wakes up hours earlier because she needs to prepare breakfast and lunches and dinner for that day. She needs to hunt around the home for matching socks and shoes and uniforms. She needs to check the parent portal and update calendars and feed the pet that the family members promised her she would not take care of. All before getting herself ready for work. And then she drives across town in traffic, dropping off kiddos along the way, holding on to coffee, spilling coffee on thankfully dark-colored pants. Arrives at her office, opens up her email account to 47 messages, all of which are some variation of can you, will you, meet me, calendar invite. A new memorandum because things are always changing, right? The rules, the roles, the responsibilities, the policies are always changing, but what doesn't change is your pay. Now there's deadlines that are approaching. Evaluations are due. So beyond the stress and beyond the feeling of being overwhelmed, the constant expectation is that she has to perform and produce under any circumstances. And even when those circumstances are characterized by, she's being bullied at work. She's overworked. She's underpaid. She's undervalued. She's isolated. Now, the mental health culture of this organization tells her that she has to sacrifice that sense of peace and resolve. She has to sacrifice self in order to perform and to produce under any circumstances. So the first company that entices her with a pay that's higher than what she's making, will pay just enough to justify leaving her job, she's gone. I want to talk to you about a patrol officer. A patrol officer who's oftentimes first or second on the scene of any injury or any incident, exposed to violence and death. So this patrol officer, he gets a call one day. There's a 13-year-old boy who's attempted suicide. He's hanging from a third-story balcony. And his mother is struggling to hold on to him, as his life is also hanging in the balance. So this patrol officer and his partner go out to the call. And it's because of the prompt response of this patrol officer that he saves the 13-year-old boy's life. Now, the mental health culture of this workplace example is that they are a fraternity. They celebrate and they grieve together, usually in a bar with alcohol involved. And what this patrol officer is internalizing is that today was a good day, but one of many in which he doesn't get there on time. He's not able to save a life. And how do you cope with that level of stress in your workplace? Especially when the fraternity, the culture, is to cope by drinking alcohol. Now, the same patrol officer, because of the stress, he's isolated, he's alienated from his friend, from his family, from his wife, from his children. So on another night, he goes out with his wife, and they get into one of their many arguments. It carries over to the car ride home and up to walking into the house where their two children are waiting for them. Now, an argument, this patrol officer goes into one room, and the wife goes into another room with her teenage son. The room that the patrol officer goes into is the one that has his firearm. He goes into the room with his wife and teenage son, and he shoots, and he injures his wife and teenage son. He leaves that room, goes into the next, and shoots and kills his daughter. And he turns the firearm on himself, and he dies by suicide that night. These are true stories. True stories and accounts of recent events. These are not isolated incidents. And to be honest with you, these are not far uncommon from a lot of people's experiences in the workforce industry that they're in. Overwhelmed, overworked, undervalued, lacking resilience, lacking those connections because of being isolated by some of those feelings of anxiety, toxic stress, depression. These are experiences that are impacting workforce industries, across the U.S., virtually every single industry. In fact, according to the Department of Labor Statistics, 70% of the U.S. workforce report having feelings of anxiety, toxic stress, and depression. And with that lack of resiliency, how that translates to high turnover, we've seen a correlating statistic that 60% of the workforce industries have experienced turnover in the year 2021. What does that mean to businesses and to companies? There's a cost to that that's devastating to any company in any industry. It's also estimated by the Department of Labor Statistics that it costs, in order to replace an employee, it costs 30% of their salary, their annual salary. Now that's just the direct costs. Recruiting, interviewing, the onboarding. Let's talk about the indirect costs. The indirect costs are lower productivity, lost revenue, lower morale, lack of resilience that sustains life. Life of the organization, life of the person that powers the vision of that organization. So how do we take the conversation beyond retaining employees for cost value? We have to begin to conceptualize that we are talking about people. People that belong, or their sense of belonging is tied to the reason why they're working for that organization. The sense of belonging is what we all return to that motivates us, the internal factors that motivate us to do the work that we do. And when we talk about peak performance, we're not just talking about work performance. We're talking about all of us performing in multiple areas of our lives. We're performing at work, sure, but we're also performing as parents. We're performing as spouses, as friends, as community members. And an organization that supports a person to achieve peak performance in all areas of their life is an organization that retains its employees. Because creating a positive mental health culture that encourages help-seeking and it empowers and supports the pathways to receiving care, quality care, and creating a psychologically safe environment so that we can identify, we can communicate, and we can reach out when we're in need of help. That goes hand in hand with retention. How do we retain our employees? How do we improve resilience? I have an answer. The answer is reach in now. So I mentioned that I developed a mobile application. It's unique because we're leveraging technology in a way where we can integrate the necessary resilience training and trauma-informed training to help us identify and become more self-aware so that we can become resilient, reshape our identities each time that we are confronted with a traumatic event, each time we are confronted with a challenge or adversity, which in all workforce industry, this is on a daily basis. And each time we are confronted with these challenges, we are also presented with an opportunity to reshape our identities. We embrace the fact that we will be challenged at work, we will be stressed. We embrace that fact and set up these protective factors, which include having supports, people to talk to. Some of us just need somebody to talk to. If we set up this level of support, then we can respond with post-traumatic growth as opposed to falling to post-traumatic stress. With Reach In Now, the application integrates that training. And in addition to that, in addition to the hours of audio and video content, the unique feature that no other mobile application has in this moment, does not exist, is that Reach In Now provides a direct link to live peer supports through the National Alliance of Mentally Ill, NAMI. Live peer supports that are trained and qualified in mental health de-escalation, suicide prevention, in substance abuse, addiction, and treatment history. But we connect you with live peer supports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. And through the NAMI organization making strides, they've also created a caring contacts program that follows up with our users for 90 days after they've contacted those warm lines. And follows up in the means and methods of text messages and calls, sending postcards. Because as we know, when we experience a mental health crisis, things may stabilize and be okay for moments at a time. But moments later, days later, weeks later, months later, years later, when seasons change, our thoughts of that crisis, our memories of that crisis and that trauma may be reactivated. So having that level of support is important. And this is something that's not only a possibility, it's a responsibility of organizations to be able to provide this alternative employee assistance to their organizations. With Reach It Now, we understand that we're talking about identities, and that no one person has one singular identity. Again, we're performing as parents, as employees, as citizens in the community, and our identities are constantly being reshaped. So there's a role, there's a responsibility of the employer to take an active role in reshaping those identities of the employees. Encouraging employees to promote positive mental health culture. It's about value. Because an employee that knows he or she, or under any non-binary certain terms, is of value or contributing value to the organization that in turn values them, they begin to value the relationship between themselves and the organization. So how do we retain employees? Look at employee as a person. Integration is a key concept in this because as a human race, as groups or races of people, and as a person, we are fractured right now. There's so many points of contention that keeps us disconnected, again, isolated, silent. So an organization that encourages us to integrate, to love all parts of ourselves, to perform highly with all aspects of our identities in our lives, again, is an organization that retains its employees. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Bianca. Brad Smith. Brad Smith is the founder and CEO of Stellar Insight Incorporated, business growth, consulting, and coaching company. Brad has been a chemist, production plant and equipment designer, a business manager, a business consultant, and an executive coach for CEOs and business owners. Brad constantly pursues insights into business success, organizational excellence, and the practical actions it takes to consistently achieve significant business growth. In his words, everything is a theory until you experience it and can consciously repeat the experiment. He coaches CEOs, business owners, and legislators for organizational growth and excellence. He has worked extensively with a variety of industries for more than 25 years. Those companies who fully commit to the work almost always achieve significant results. Brad limits his work to ambitious, curious CEOs, business owners, and their teams who are committed to their company's excellence and growth. He also runs a program for deep intuition development for CEOs and R&D teams. Join me in welcoming Brad Smith to the stage as he shares with us stellar business insights.
Let's start off with a short story. Second grade, afternoon recess, Evansville, Indiana. It was hot, it was steamy, and I was outside, and the second grade boy, Steve Johnson, walks up and puts his fist into my abdomen right there. He looks me deeply in the eye because I had stopped breathing. He says, "Do you know what your initials stand for?" And he walks off. 3.5 minutes later, after I walked back into the room, my homeroom, put my head down, sat down on my seat, and got my first real breath, I thought, this is the second grade. Did he mean bullshit? So I've done my very best to live. I've done my very best to live up to that ever since. Take myself seriously is not important. What's important is I take the people around me seriously. At age 18, fall term freshman year, I developed an ulcerative colon. The doctor said to me when I finally got there in December, this talk to him, he said, "Gee, Brad," and this is the quote, "Gee, Brad, if you had waited 6 weeks to come see me, you would have bled to death." So he had my attention. And then he said, "You'll never eat strawberries, corn, or lettuce ever again in your life." My 18-year-old brain said, "That chance, buddy, that's not happening." And then he said to me, "You have a psychosomatic disease. Your emotions affect the severity of your symptoms." And in that moment, as an 18-year-old, I made a commitment to conquer my disease. Stop the bleeding, stop the pain. And it was apparently deadly, because he told me the truth of that. But what I got to was understanding that I had to watch myself first. I had to study Brad as a beaker, if you would. I was in chemical engineering, so I was taking a lot of chemistry. Study Brad as the beaker. Study my emotions, get to know my emotions, and understand which one of those were the ones that were causing my bleeding. How did that translate then down into my body and give me the pain that I had? So in that process, I got to know Brad really well. But I also got to know patterns in my behavior and the results that I created. I've been raised by a chemical engineer, a PhD in biochemistry, who taught me cause and effect, which means that if there's a cause, in this case my disease, there has to be a cause. And so the result is cause and effect happens. He also started 34 companies as I was growing up. And I got to watch him as every one of those stories came to pass, and 30 of them failed, 44 of them succeeded. And when he got around to kind of evolving my career, I got down to the place where I'd done analytical chemistry, I'd done formulation chemistry, and I got presented with the idea of an executive coach and business coach. So I took training through Coach University, and then I realized, oh, I have an MBA, a bachelor's in business management, I've got years of technical experience, I could coach CEOs, I could coach business executives. So as I work with executives, what I've learned is every one of them shows up in their job completely unaware of the deepest set of causes that they're creating either their success or their not success. So the first thing I look at is I look at their business model, but I also listen and carefully watch who they are as a person. I listen to how that affects their executive team and how effective their executive team is. I also look at who's taking responsibility and how those things filter out into what they're accomplishing. My goal, of course, with each one of them is to take each one of them, take them from their current situation and help them double their revenue and their revenue growth rate in the first year, if not the first 18 months. And then from there, progress on to where we've added double their growth rate and then increase their income where they added 0. I've done it. When I did that the first time, I'm going, it just happened about 10 years ago, I'm going, oh, this does work. And so I managed to do that. So some of the things that I've learned, some of the key insights that I've learned is almost all of them don't have enough time when I first talk to them. What's your biggest issue? Well, I don't have enough time. And I don't have enough money. Okay. So what I learned in that is, if they don't have enough time, it means there's things they're doing they have no business doing. So I have an exercise I have them go through. The first exercise, write this down. I call this the plate exercise. Write down everything that you do in a month and chunk it off into blocks of time. Spend this much time doing this much time doing this much time doing this. And then when you figure out what's the cheapest of those things that you have no business doing that you need to delegate, and does it add up to 10 or 15 or 20 hours a month or a week, right? And then they help them figure out, can they afford to offload this 20-hour block a week or this 5-hour block a week? And so they delegate. Key first skill is, out of the plate exercise, they get a delegation list. Out of the delegation list, they get a hiring list. And that leads us to the next insight. The next insight that people say is, I don't have enough talent. I have trouble attracting it. I have trouble keeping it, retaining it in the business. So then we go down into we build, most businesses have a sales pipeline, what's in the pipeline and coming to them in the way of business. Almost none of them have a talent pipeline. So we build out a talent pipeline and help them figure out how to attract the proper personnel. In the hiring process, everybody starts with, these are the skills that I need to hire. And I back them up and say, first, when you're building out a position, start with the results you need. Build a list of the results. Then build out a list of the tasks that need to be done in order to create the results. And then, out of that, build your skills list. That's the first three. The fourth list that I ask them to look at is, what's the character of the person who most easily would achieve those results and then grow into the culture of the company? So they have to look at themselves first and build out a list of what's important for me as a person. And I have them do a third exercise, which is, who am I and what are my values? What's important to me and what's not important to me? And how does that then reflect in my business? So that piece goes with the character list piece. And then the fifth list is a list of things that the person needs to learn in order to get to the level 10 in that job. And then the gap between who they are right now when they're interviewing them and what they need to be and what they can achieve. And someone comes in as, and this is some of the educational process, if someone comes in as a level 7 for a particular job, you can grow them to a 9, maybe a 9.5. They come in at a 5, you can't grow them beyond maybe a 7 or a 7.5. People just don't evolve that far. So in the process of growing people, they go from task doer to a task designer to then a job designer and an organizational designer. And in that process, I help them grow their organization to grow the capacity of it in the process of getting more clients. So most people think, I need to get more customers or clients in order to get more cash, in order to grow the company. If they take the talent that they have in the company, whatever size it is, and they get them more enthusiastic and inspired, that's the process that they need to grow up in. Is the difference between a manager is someone who tells someone what to do, and a leader is someone who inspires people to do more. And if I help someone go from being a manager to a leader, then they've got more energy in the company, and as a result of that, they wind up with happier employees and more gets done. That's getting more done with less, right? Almost everybody approaches problems from the end of the mind. Look at the problem, have certain habits for that, and so the whole character trait of who they are, if you stop and back up and look at it, I'll start and go way back. These are the things that I learned. Watching myself and growing myself out of my colitis. It took me about a year to stop the bleeding. It took me about 2.5 years to get the pain subside down. And it took another 20 years to get to the place where I recognized particular events that put it into place initially. And in that process of learning about myself, I learned how to build my character from the core up. Watch who I am, watch how kind I was, how not kind I was, how when I was strong, I needed to be strong, how to build that process up. And so what I help my clients do is to learn who they are, how to be more effective, and then how to grow the culture in their company in addition to just themselves or their executive team. So if you grow culture in the company, and you grow capacity, and you grow focus in the organizational chart to kind of match what goes on with the business and the volume of business they're doing, then eventually everybody gets to a place where things are more efficient. There is a process underneath everything. I teach my clients this, how to go from just using the analytical mind, words and numbers, sharp edges, dissection, analytical mind, hand on the podium here, and I can pull off the difference between where the hand is and where the podium is. So that's the subtraction part of the analytical mind. The intuitive mind is a concept synthesis engine. It takes a concept from here, a concept from here, a concept from when I was 3, and it pulls them together, and it presents me with the option of that as a solution. So it's a concept engine for invention and strategic planning. Intuition is required. So this is another skill that I teach my clients as I work with them. All of these are important things to remember. Who you are makes a difference. The talent that you hire makes a difference. How you draw people in and inspire them makes a difference. And all of these bring energy to the organization to achieve higher success and greater capacity. Growth happens in business in a spiral. You start out at one place, you think, oh, this is a product or a service that I can offer my customers, and they'll buy it. This is, okay, an opportunity for me to delegate, and I have just enough money to do that. You spiral around and you add more capacity, in more products, and as you grow up, you touch all 5 pieces of the organization, which is production, finance, research and development, sales and marketing, and personnel. Those 5 pieces get touched in every one of these spirals. And as you go through and touch each one, the organization gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But you have to touch each one and make sure you're managing and working with all 5 elements. As you grow a company, everything in who you are makes a difference. If you're a company organizer or a starter, who you are makes a difference, and who the company is makes a difference. It's what attracts the customers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been taking a lot of notes today. You guys get some good nuggets today? Great. Cool. So the final speaker before we bring up our founder and creator of this wonderful event, because he can speak as well, aka Badass, is a gentleman named Will Black. And Will Black, unfortunately, couldn't be here today, but he shot us a video of his talk. And I'm going to just read through his introduction really briefly, just so you kind of know who is this guy, Will Black. He's been in the payments industry since the first month of the new millennium. It's a long time. Starting at Go Software, he worked with banks and financial institutions and got his leather chair in the corner office as executive for Financial East. Will left to create his own firm, which built card software that ran natively on PCs and Macs, sold it, and launched his own merchant firm. Meeting a charity whose previous board had destroyed their giving pool, Will explained to them that businesses could fund the charity, and their joint effort grew into sharing the credit. Will has given millions to charity that formerly went back into the system. He's also been an entrepreneur, Forbes, and will soon deliver his own TEDx talk. Though he apologizes for not being here today, we're going to tell him no worries. Tell the university he's fine. We're happy that he sent a video. And this video presentation, which he did record for us, is courtesy of Owen Digital Media. Please put your hands together for Will Black. He's not here.
Ira, thank you for having me come out, although virtually. Thank you, everybody, for coming to me. I'll try to make this shorter so you can get back to the food or the networking and revelry. I wish I were out there in beautiful California with you, but right now I'm in beautiful, historic Savannah, Georgia, very green area. About to have another thunderstorm because that's how we keep it green. Hi, my name is Will Black, and I'm sharing the credit. I have funded nonprofits to the tune of millions of dollars. I'd love to give you a little value add today and show you one way that some bigger businesses and the wealthy are using their donations to drive traffic to their businesses, which is an incredible thing, all while doing good in their community and the world at large. And sharing the credit, we've been an entrepreneur in Forbes and getting our own TEDx talk and a dozen other shows and magazines because of what we do. And simply put, we are in funding, but we have a very different spin to it. It's just simply what we used to do in the banking system. At the end of the day, as we say, what we're not is almost as important as what we are. I'm not sitting on a $40 million trust, although I'm open to anybody's got a spare $40 million. We don't take any government money and we don't take any grants because it often comes with strings attached telling you what you can and can't do with it. Instead, what we do is we say, this is what happened in the banking industry. Every time you, me, anybody, if we go into a business, whether it's a brick and mortar store, retail, and you can see the person, whether it's online and a click and mortar store, it doesn't matter. If you use plastic, if you use a debit card or a credit card to pay that business, a fee comes out of that business and goes back into the system at the end of the month, right? We all know that, no kidding. Often called the groan fee because the business groans when they see how much it costs them. You may know that. Here's what you don't know. It's not a fee. It's a collection of fees. One of those fees that Visa MasterCard builds into that system, it doesn't go to Visa. It doesn't go to MasterCard. It generally goes back into the system, normally to a bank. But it may legally go with the IRS's blessing to a 501c3, a nonprofit. Ta-da! That's what we do. The third business we ever spoke to was a car dealership of some size. They do $1 million a month in plastic loans. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers as they struggle to get along, right? Especially since that's their small source of income. They greet us very warmly, as an ethical business is going to do. They said, please tell us how we can help our nonprofit. And that's when we have to say, all right, let's get a couple ground rules down first. One, if this costs your charity anything, or if you as a business, if you had to pay extra in order to do this, right? If you had to pay a premium at your business in order to fund this charity, it would literally be cheaper for you to say no, thank you, and keep writing them a check. I believe the $1 million car dealership's exact words were, God bless you. Nobody turns away money from us. We're the name in the community. So we sit down and we do for the same thing that we used to do for all the banks in the world that would send their businesses to us. And we said, all right, let's go over your numbers. And we said, all right, you as a business, you were overpaying $30,000 a year in fees. Again, they do $1 million a month. $30,000 a year in fees that you don't have to pay. And that's when the big GM of that particular auto group finally sat up and spoke, and he said, wow, that is a car, son. That's a whole car. And everybody laughed. We got the joke. And I said, it's a car a year. Actually, it's a car every year. And we said, listen, we don't do low pressure. We do no pressure. Here's a copy of the report. You're going to see a lot of red ink. That's at 30,000 you're spending just out of the goodness of your hearts. That can go away. I said, feel free to take it back to your current provider and argue it down. And he said, assuming we even wanted that nightmare, he said, they're probably not going to give our charity that we know and love and support right now those extra monies, those monies that are built. And I said, well, they're legally allowed to, but no, they don't have to. We do it, and we put the legal onus on us where we have to do it. It's not even in the goodness of our hearts. We must do it. They made the switch right then and there. They save $30,000 a year, every year, actually a little more right now because they've grown. They're one of our first clients. They give between $130,000 to $140,000 a year to their charity, year after year after year. That's amazing. But I like to emphasize, they still save that $30,000. It has to be a blessing for the business. And on top of it, they're still taking that $130,000, $140,000 that also used to go back into the system, and now they're giving it to the cause they love. That's important. It's not my cause. It's not Visa's cause or MasterCard's cause. It's not Ira's cause. I'm sorry, Ira. It's that business's cause. So if they want to give to a no-kill shelter, they're saving a lot of animals from being gassed, because that's a lot of animals. If they want to save veterans from committing suicide, if they want to feed the homeless, if they want to house the homeless, if they want to work with Habitat for Humanity, whatever it is, they're leaving a great footprint with those monies because it's being given automatically. It's the one thing in the world where it goes into perpetuity. It's a definition of sustainability, right? Unlike that gym membership that you signed up for 3 years ago and haven't gone since, and it just keeps paying, this is the good version of that. It keeps paying. So much so that Visa MasterCard, we have a particular blessing, and you'll see this. Look, you see this door sticker, right? You've seen 10,000 of these. Visa, MasterCard, Discover, what have you. But now it can say Visa, MasterCard, or your business here supports blank, and whatever it is, the name of your nonprofit, assuming they give us the ability to do it. Everybody always does. For example, this one, this is that incredible logo from Operation Underground Railroad. These are the guys, they work day and night to end child trafficking. These are the guys that say, we want to come in and be fired because that evil is gone in the world and there's nothing else for us to do, right? As you can imagine. When we gave them this opportunity, they said, please put this on the sticker. Any business that wants to support us, we want that branding. We want that stamp on that door to get the word out, to show more people of what they do, because there's still plenty of people that don't know that broken chain ending child slavery, the trafficking of these children of Operation Underground Railroad. And that is when there was a bit of a shift, and something started happening that we now teach all of our businesses, including the smallest of our businesses, people that haven't even opened their doors yet and are shopping their new account. And that is this: giving is good for business. And the bigger businesses, the wealthier of these clientele, they're a little bit more savvy, learn from them, model what they are doing. Because, for example, that car dealership has told us this has turned out to be very good for business. And why is it? They pump so much money into their charities. Their charity is now their advertising wing. Now, we all see car dealership commercials on TV and on the radio and everything else you can imagine. But this has been a whole new source. Your nonprofit has a hive of a network just going out to many people. But the special trick is this: if they're giving to a no-kill shelter, then they're advertising to all the people that think just like them, and that is dogs are wonderful. And if you don't think that, your heart might be a dried, empty husk. They're like, dogs are wonderful, aren't they? This dealership has saved so many dogs. They give to us continually, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. Um, these are the good guys. So guess what? If you're a big dog fan and you're in the area, you know where you're probably buying a car. That's just what happens. If you want to say veterans, and that, that car dealership is the one saying this group over and over, they keep donating, and you know that every $200 saves a veteran from committing suicide. Well, guess what? If you're a vet, that's where you're going to go buy a car. And as it happens out, giving is good for business. Doing good is good business. They end up turning their nonprofits, even the smaller businesses, because they give 4 and 5 times what they would ever write a check for when they just do it on automatic through sharing the credit. All of a sudden, that nonprofit has that business's name on their lips in every social media post, every newsletter that's emailed out, every paper newsletter, and at every event they throw. Doing good is some really good business. I hope this has been a huge value add for you. A little food for thought. Again, my name is Will Black, black like the color. I'm sure you can spell that, but I do get Will Blank, like insert last name here. It's Black. It's sharing the credit. We only do it if it's a blessing for the business. If the business can save money, then we help them redirect that fee that's built in to go to their nonprofit. I hope you all enjoy this time. Ira, again, thank you so much for putting this on for all of us. And let me know next time you're doing it, and I'll definitely fly out. I'll see you all soon.
Awesome. It's that time, you guys. The final speaker of the day.
Where's the intro?
Right?
Come on, man. Like, you got it. You're the MC. Host with the most.
Most of the most. Professionally, Ira is a marketing and sales expert. He's also a photographer, graphic designer, website builder, philanthropy owner, search engine optimization content writer, and TEDx speaker. Ira has built a large social media following with 6-figure following counts on both LinkedIn and Instagram. Ira Bowman holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Liberty University, where he graduated with a 3.916 GPA in interdisciplinary studies. His concentrations were in business and religion. This says a lot about who Ira is, and he has many interests, and he strives to do things with excellence. Over his 25-year career to date, Ira has worked in the restaurant, e-commerce, print, and marketing industries. And the majority of Ira's career has been spent in a sales role in both the print and graphics industry, helping small and medium-sized businesses gain market share and increase sales. Since June 2020, with the launch of Ira's business, Bowman Digital Media, Ira has focused on helping increase visibility for his clients on social media and increasing web traffic. The internet has become the main source of commerce, and visibility is important to increase sales. Ira Bowman has been married to his wife, Alicia Bowman, since June of 2000, and is the proud father of 8 children, with several of his kids now in college. The family is located right here in Southern California, just outside Los Angeles. We're grateful that Ira put on today's event, the SoCal Business Network Supercharger. Please help me in welcoming Ira back to the stage to discuss how to supercharge your social media efforts.
I have one of my kids taking pictures of me. This is weird. Hello, everybody. My name is Ira Bowman. Thank you so much, Joel, for being the MC today. I'm done. It's Earlier today, I gave a LinkedIn presentation specifically designed to help you supercharge or get more from LinkedIn. Today, in my topic, we're going to expand it a little bit because a lot of what I talked about, LinkedIn actually can work across platforms. But there are some differences. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can increase your visibility all across social media. How do you, as a business owner, or as an employee, or as a coach, whatever role you fill right now, how do you figure out what social media platform that you should even be on, or how do you allocate your time so that you're getting the most ROI for the time that you invest? That's where we're going to start. At the end of this, I'm going to take questions. Remember, I said earlier, you can save your questions and we're going to take them at the end. But first, I'm probably going to answer one of your questions, hopefully. Okay. So the very first thing that you want to understand about social media is that social media has more people on it than any other place on the planet. There is no more concentrated place on Earth than social media. I get a lot of people when I tell them that I am in social media business for a living that look at me like I'm moving around. What I do somehow is not serious. And I'm like, you, my friend, don't understand the power of social media. And it's okay. I understand a lot of people have not been educated on this, but if this was 1950, and you were starting a business in 1950, what you probably would have done is look for a brick and mortar location that was alongside a busy thoroughfare, maybe a highway, a freeway, a busy main street. And if you couldn't find a physical location in one of those locations, you probably would have rented signage, billboards, and so forth, and tried to put them along those lines. Because there was a lot of eyeballs that would see it. A busy street in the United States might see 20,000 to 40,000 cars on that street in a given day. A highway could be into the millions. But you're looking for traffic. That was the idea. The other place that a lot of people would concentrate in was the paper or the phone book. The same principles that drove those activities are why people should be on and paying attention to social media today. It's actually even more viable than those busy streets and those billboards because of the volumes. The busy or the most populated countries on the planet, India, I think there's 1.6 billion people. I'm not great at these numbers, so sometimes people say, well, India, there's more people. And you say, yeah, but there's no place in India that you can be and have all those people concentrated, right? It's spread out. It's hard to find. Social media is interesting. But let me tell you why right now is the time to be on social media more than it will be every day that passes by. It'll be a little bit more diluted. Do you remember back my childhood? I don't know what year I was born, but I was born in the 70s. How many TV stations were there? There was 3, right? And then there was 4, and then there was 12, and then there was 30. ESPN came out in the 80s. Loved it. Still love it, right? But then what happened? You got all the premium channels, and it was up in the hundreds, and satellite came out in the 500s, and now, I mean, there's so many places that you can watch. What's happened to audiences if you're paying attention in the media business, the traditional media space, is the audiences are smaller and smaller and smaller because they're diluted, they're spread out, and that is going to continue to happen. It's already happening. It's going to continue to happen in social media as well. Right now, in fact, if I miss it a little bit, you have an opportunity to get the most concentrated people. Facebook was the king. Facebook is no longer the king. You know what the #1 used website in the world is today? TikTok. Somebody paid attention to me. All right. TikTok. You guys think it's just for kids. My kid back there. That's right, baby. World. She's 14. TikTok is not only the #1 app, social media, it's also the #1 website. It has been for a few years straight. It has more daily users than Google. Google has 50,000 searches per second. We'll come back to that in a second. Okay? But social media has so much volume, if you know what you're doing, you don't need to do anything else to advertise or market your business. Did you hear what I just said? There are so many people, there are so many real people on social media concentrated right now that if you run a smart campaign, you don't have to spend any money on marketing or advertising. Not on print media, not on traditional radio or TV, not on billboards. You don't have to wrap in vehicles. You don't have to pay for lead gen. Oh, you add me. But it's true. And guess what? You don't even have to hire me. If you know what you're doing, take the time to figure it out. You can do it yourself. This is ROI we're talking about, return on investment. I'm not saying that everybody that's in the room or everybody that's watching, thank you for watching, you should do it yourself. But what I'm saying is, if you get somebody to do it for you on your behalf, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You just have to be smart about it. So the very first thing I want you to consider is, who is your avatar or your target audience? Your prospects. Who are they? Demographics. This is basic marketing stuff that people somehow forget. Who are you going after? College folks, blue-collar folks. They lean left, they lean right, they can dunk on you. They're vertically challenged. Maybe they're balding. Maybe they got 8 kids. Maybe they're not married yet. The more you can pinpoint your demographics, the smarter, more intelligent it can be with advice on where you should be hanging out. But here's the other part of the demographics that people somehow miss. If you're going to surf on a wave, where do you want to be? Do you want to be in the back of the wave, on the top of the wave, or in the front of the wave? You want to be in the front, because in the front of the wave is where most of the momentum is. The thing that people miss with social media is you have to look at the trends that are coming, not with the also rants. There's too many people out there trying to copy Gary Vee, or Simon Sinek, or whoever your favorite Ira Bowman content creator would be, right? There's a lot of really good content creators out there, but the fact is, if they have millions of followers doing their thing, you've probably missed the boat on that, unless you can do something to figure out something to make it different that's forward-facing. For example, when Clubhouse came out, Clubhouse crushed it with audio only. Everybody will tell you, now look, I make videos and graphics for a living. We've got another content creator in the room who does the same stuff. There's nothing wrong with graphics, it's attention grabbing, but you know what? They went a whole different way, and they caught a whole different segment, and it caught the world by storm. And then what happened? YouTube tried to get in on it, Twitter tried to get in on it, LinkedIn's trying to get in on it. What happened is it diluted the audience, and now that wave is dispersed. It's no longer a viable product. It was a niche. So sometimes the waves ride for years. Sometimes the waves ride for minutes. And you can make a huge splash with a cannonball, but you're probably not going to be an Olympic athlete with that, right? So you have to understand the tools. You have to understand the trends. You have to understand marketing. Because at the end of the day, this is still marketing. This is digital marketing, but it's marketing. It's still people. It's behaviors, it's patterns. I talk to business owners every single day about their social media efforts, and almost none of them have any demographics at all. They come to me with nothing. I'm like, hello? Is everybody a potential client? Now, if you're selling toilet paper or toothpaste, t-shirts, clothing, consumable products, yeah, maybe. But most of us have a demographic. I have a demographic in here. 30 to 50-year-old service-based business owners. Most of them are bootstrapping or they have 10 or less employees. Most of them make less than $1 million a year. Most of them are college educated, but they didn't finish. How do I know that? This is how you know it. Go to your current clients and ask. It's not super complicated. That's all I did. I went to my current clients and I went through it and I said, okay, let me just get some demographic information. You know, when you become friends with your clients, when you do your job there, they'll open up to you. You know, if you start with a prospect, hey, did you finish college? Probably be like, yeah, man, right? That's your business. But, you know, after, like, Brad Smith in the audience is one of my clients. Brad Smith and I will talk about everything. I mean, really, there's not much that's off limits. I can't think of anything that's off limits for us. Because we built a relationship over time. I can ask him, he can ask me, right? And he actually doesn't fit all of my demographics. I'm not going to tell you which one he doesn't fit. But he doesn't fit them all. But the fact is, when you get the demographics down, that's the foundational piece. You have to have it start there. Now let me help you figure out what to do with it once you get it. Because I know a lot of you are overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, marketing data. You know what? You can get free data from Pew Research. You don't have to do marketing studies and interview 50,000 people or 5 million people or figure it out. You can get trends, historical trends over time. If you can't do that, call me and I'll help you figure it out. Okay? But Pew Research puts out every year this data. Like, how do I know for sure that TikTok gets more views than Google? Well, you can do a Google search, just kind of ironic. But Pew Research is how I know. How do I know the most popular social media website in the United States for adults 18 and over is YouTube, not TikTok, not Google, not Facebook, not LinkedIn, not Twitter, not Pinterest. How do I know that for a fact? Pew Research told me. I'm a marketing guy, I do social media for a living, but I'm going to waste. Look, I remember I started this with ROI. I'm going to waste a lot of time reinventing the wheel here, doing my own research. I utilize credible resources for my data, and I go with that. And then you also adjust on the fly based on your own findings. So, once you know who your demographics are, you can go to Pew Research or any other viable marketing data that you get access to, gain access to, and you can figure out where those people are. And now what I suggest is you start spending time there, or you hire somebody like, well, this isn't a commercial, it's not supposed to be, but you can hire somebody to do it, whether that's somebody you bring on staff. Let me tell you a free way. Brad Smith was talking about spinning plates, and he was also talking about developing talent. There's lots of people out there who want to be in the marketing world, who don't have any experience, but would love to get some, and will work for free as an intern. And you can have them working on your social media, in your marketing department, and then you get some experience. And then you can decide if you like the work ethic and you want to pay them, right? You can figure all that stuff out. So there's a variety of ways to do this. You can do it yourself, you have somebody on staff do it, you get an intern to do it, you hire someone to do it. Get somebody to do it. Because you will not find, like I said, a bigger concentration of human beings on the planet than on social media right now. What's number 2? Great question, thank you for asking. Search engines. Search engine optimization is so important because, as I said earlier, 50,000 people per second on average are searching in Google search. That doesn't include Bing. That doesn't include YouTube. YouTube, by the way, the number 2 search engine in the world. So Google, the company that owns Google, frankly, that's the number 1 and the number 2 search engine on the planet. Crazy. Search engine optimization and social media are so important, and most people don't even acknowledge its importance in the economy. It's because they just don't understand it. So what I do is so important, but most people look at me like I'm goofing around and I'm just having fun, which I am. I like what I do. Okay, so let's get to social media, some practical steps for you. First thing is demographics. Know who you're going after. Second thing is figure out where they are. Third thing is get involved there. So what do I mean by get involved there? Let me clarify this. I don't care what your company does or if you are an individual person. If you're in business trying to make money, trying to raise eyeballs, right? You need an account on all these social media platforms. All of them. I don't care if you never go there. I don't care. I'm not even saying you should. Just go set up a free account and make sure your website address is there. Right? Populate everything that you possibly can. Add some pictures, add some videos, add some keyword-rich descriptions. Why? Because they don't know you, and they may not have a demographic that matches your ideal avatar. But it could be a spouse, it could be somebody who's related, it could be a friend of somebody who says, hey, I'm looking for a plumber, and they're on Pinterest, which is not the ideal place to find a plumber. But they're searching for a plumber, and they found you because you created a profile and a keyword-rich description about your services. Okay? You do the same thing with Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, on and on. Okay? So they're free accounts. It's like pinning your flyer to the wall and hoping somebody sees it. Give yourself a chance. But when you figure out where the people are in concentration, like if it's LinkedIn, which a lot of you assume is LinkedIn, and it's not usually the case, but you assume everybody that's in business is on LinkedIn. But wherever they do happen to be, by the way, if you want to know who's on LinkedIn, just give you a little freebie. If they don't have a college degree, LinkedIn is not the #1 source. Blue collar folks don't really use LinkedIn. So if that's your main target, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest. Everybody forgets Pinterest. Like, why? Pinterest is awesome. Okay. I love Pinterest because of the backlinks. We'll get into backlinks in some of the talks over the day. But find where your demographic, your avatar is, and then spend like 80% of your overall social media time should be concentrated on the bucket that's the biggest for your avatar. So that's why, again, I'll come back to demographics, because if, let's say you were chasing blue collar folks or people that were entrepreneurs that didn't have a college degree, and you're on LinkedIn looking for those folks, they're not there. You're wasting your time. Your ROI, right? I mean, it's real. A lot of people think that social media is a waste of time because they spent all this time doing stuff, trying to mimic people. They were behind the curve. They were behind the wave, surfing with yesterday's tactics on the wrong social media platform. And they didn't get anything, or they didn't get enough. They thought, oh, it doesn't work. Well, it does work. You just didn't do your homework. You weren't doing the smartest things. Being prepared, educate yourself, talk to other people. I love what Eric Levine said earlier in his speech from the first session this morning, the second session this morning. He was talking about, don't show me your the intellectual property, right? It isn't the academic. It's the person who actually did it. There's this thing in I run Project Healthy Growth, I'm not familiar. Project Healthy Growth is a nonprofit where we help job seekers with employers and recruiters from around the world. It's 100% free. It's my labor of love. I'm absolutely proud of the work there. But one of the things we teach people on Project Healthy Growth is about this concept. It's called an informational interview. Informational interview is like a precursor to finding a mentor. What you do is you find somebody who's either done what you're looking for or who is doing currently what you would like to do, and you ask them questions. Usually you take them out for coffee or take them to lunch, dinner, something like that, and you treat because they're paying you their information. And if they like you, typically that leads to like a second date, but it's professional, so we call that mentorship. Okay? So find somebody who's done it. Like, for example, I get reached out to by, okay, the Jacksons are in the room. Their son was working for me in an internship program, which I did have to cancel unfortunately, but why? Because he aspires to do some of the things that we do on digital media when he gets a little older. And so the idea was I would come up for me for the summer, and I'll give him some training, he's going to trade me some labor, but the whole point was that he was going to work for somebody who's in the field doing the things that he aspires to do. Is very smart. Right? So you can do that with these informational interviews. If you're not sure what to do in social media, you can talk to people who have gotten results that you would like to get. There's a variety of people. You can reach out to what we call influencers, or gurus, or people that you respect in the space. There's tons of content creators. We're a dime a dozen. There's a lot of us, and we all do things a little bit different, right? So you can talk to people about the results that you're trying to get on the platform that you're trying to get it to, by the way, because it's not always the same. The next thing that we're going to talk about is it's this mystical thing called the algorithm. And the algorithm, when I say the word, in fact, I had trouble learning how to spell it. But algorithm was a hard word for me to even learn how to spell. I actually understood what it was far before I learned how to spell without a spell check. To be honest. Algorithm is basically a series of rules, if you will, or equations, if you will. It's mathematical formulas that are put together to help determine how the results will stack up, or in the case of a feed, what is shown and what is not shown. Every platform, in fact, every search engine has an algorithm. On LinkedIn, the one that I get asked about the most, what's interesting, the way Microsoft does it, Microsoft owns LinkedIn, if you know that, they have artificially intelligent, individual, personalized algorithms that actually can change by the second based on your performance and based on the performance of others. So it's learning and adjusting on the fly. So it worked on your last post, on your next post. Which is why I try not to get too hung up on the exact rules, because people are looking for a static, like, just give me a checklist. Use this, don't use that, this time of day, that day of the week, how many friends to tag, these hashtags, blah, 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 blah. The answer, honestly, is nobody publishes their algorithm, and there's nobody who'll ever meet who's smart enough. You can't understand it. It's too much. Even if it was published, there's just too much going on, right? So if you ever hear anybody say, I'm an algorithm expert at LinkedIn, I want you to laugh and then move about your day, because don't take them seriously. They're trying to sell you single. I'll tell you this. I study the LinkedIn algorithm and the Instagram algorithm on a daily basis in a variety of ways. And I think I understand it as good as anybody that I've ever met anyways. And I will tell you that I have so much to learn, and at best, I'm best. Now, I have some hard and fast rules that I can share with you. Absolutely. You have to remember that all of these social media platforms are websites. And all of them have a domain authority ranking, the DA. If you take a little bit of time to understand how websites work and how domain authorities work, you can start to figure out how to build posts that will likely be algorithm friendly. And then you can add in some old-fashioned marketing techniques, what we call the A/B testing. If you do the two things in concert, you'll find that you get pretty good results. And then if you add a third component, just some friends, and collaborate, you can get even farther faster. Right? You just got to get some people that you can trust to give you data, and sometimes you're going to give them data that gives them an advantage that they wouldn't have gotten as fast. But I'll alternatively, they're going to give you sometimes that edge, and you're going to get to the front of the wave faster too. Okay? So, what are some of those? Here's a universal truth. As long as I've been in SEO, even longer than I knew what SEO was, site speed has always been an important factor, what I would call a pillar of domain authority. Why is that? Because site speed, in a world that's increasingly impatient and instant gratification, if you wait too long to load a video or load a page, they will leave. In our world, we call it bounce rate. Bounce. And it's not good. So on social media, if you're trying to generate content that will be viral. What does that even mean? Anyways, you want to get a lot of views, you want to get hundreds of views, or thousands of views, or millions of views, whatever viral means to you. One of the things that you have to understand is if you put up information that is not as large, typically it's going to load faster. It's not always true. You have to understand the apparatus that you're using, the file type that you're using. You could show a video that was linked from YouTube and serve it up much faster on LinkedIn than a native video. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. Site speed, a link to YouTube or to Vimeo or something like that will serve faster than a native video. Especially if you're on an app, that becomes critical. Okay. Yes, the apps are different than if you're using a hard computer, right? You're on a desktop. Sorry. If you're on a desktop, you're using a different version of the same program that you think you're using. It's the same on your phone, it's a little different. Okay. So content matters. But here's the thing that I want to tell you too. With LinkedIn, I think I'm just thinking about this for a second, but I believe I'm correct when I'm going to say this. Dwell time on LinkedIn is more important than any other of the algorithms that I know about. It's been talked about openly by LinkedIn, and they don't talk about stuff openly much. They like to keep it to the best. Like I said, everybody has their own individual algorithm anyways on LinkedIn, which is the only one I know that does that too. So most of the time you're using a similar algorithm, not the exact same algorithm on most of the platforms, but LinkedIn has everybody has a unique, which is fascinating. That's why if somebody tells you that they've mastered the LinkedIn algorithm, you just laugh because there's 760 million of them. Anyways, file sizes matter. Let me share with you something that makes a huge difference on all the platforms. Hashtags. If you don't know what I mean by hashtag, I'm talking about for the people that are 50 or over, the pound sign, followed by a word. No spaces, no punctuations, just words, letters. You can't put numbers, so it could be alphanumeric, but no symbols, no spaces. If you capitalize a letter, it doesn't disqualify anything. In fact, I recommend you capitalize the first letter in every word, right? So that makes it easier to read. I write project, help you grow, project with capital P and then lowercase till I get capital H and so forth, right? So you guys can figure that out. On digital media, I just use an acronym, BEM. But you could put Bowman digital media. If I was going to do that, I'd do capital B, capital D, capital M. Okay. Why do we use hashtags? The thing about hashtags, and this works for every platform but LinkedIn, by the way, so if you're looking for LinkedIn tips, side note, it doesn't work this way. That's why first, second, third level connections are there on LinkedIn. We can talk about that. Here. Okay. So on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on all these, except LinkedIn. What a hashtag is going to do for you is going to invite people to the party that you don't know. They don't know you. They're searching for that topic. So let's say you're looking for an executive coach. You put in hashtag search executive coach. All of the content with the hashtag executive coach would come up. Except LinkedIn. You have a question about how LinkedIn works, you have to ask me. Sorry. Okay? Once the audience asks me after, then we'll get into that. But this will bring the people to the party that don't know. that I call them smart tags. They're actually officially just called tags. Type a little A with a fancy circle around it, and you start typing a name or a business, and you get a drop-down list and pick them. Like if I was typing my best friend Bianca McCall, I would say the at symbol, and then B, and the I, and the A, and the N, right? Okay, and then when it showed up, it shows up quickly for me, that tagger, picker, and then when I make a post, we like search the part. So the difference between the tag and the hashtag is this. When the tag people relevant to the post in the post by name or by using that little A circle thing, that symbol. And the hashtag is going to invite people up there. So every time I post, almost every time I post, I'm going to use hashtags and smart tags. Because I want to, if you want more people to engage, you should do, because the more engagement you get, the more views you get, you want to go viral, right? Yes, you want as many people as possible to see the posts. That's the only reason we make them. Why else would we make them? If we want to keep it secret, we wouldn't make a social media post, right? So that's the idea. Okay, I shared this earlier. I'm going to share it now, only because it's true for every single social media platform. Most people are making too many posts and not nearly enough comments. I would tell you that you're probably not going to meet anybody in real life that has more followers on social media than I do. I'm not trying to brag, it's true to have hundreds of thousands of followers on multiple platforms. One of the reasons why I have so many followers is because I make a lot of comments. I make comments every single day. I make posts every day too. But if you actually keep up with me, if you could sit in the chair next to me, well, that would be a weird day. But if you can do that, what you would notice is I make a lot of comments. I always have my phone with me, and I make use of this thing. My kids in the room, she'll tell you, like, when I'm sitting at the dining room table, a lot of times I have this in my hand, and I'm just sitting there and I'm making comments. You know, it's comments. Now, it's not good for being a husband. It's not good for being a parent. It's not good for being a friend. It's maybe not even good for being an employee. If you're not in the social media business, I'm not saying my lifestyle is really a good, healthy thing, but I will say this, there may be a heck of a lot of social media followers. Here is the thing about social media that I don't understand where we went wrong as a society. Well, except, I'm not going to go there. The first word social media is social, and somewhere along the way, people change that to I want to be cool. And I want to be cool is so much different than I want to be social, because the cool kid, standoffish, elite, that's what too many people are trying to be celebrities. I am anything but a celebrity. I drive an 11-year-old Hyundai that has a light that never shuts off. I have 8 kids over $50 bucks. Everybody thinks these are like $1,000 Gucci, something they're from Zinni, they're $50 in the rifle, so you figure that out from Gucci. The only brand name I buy is Bowman Digital Media. Everything else is off the shelf from Walmart or Amazon or wherever we can get it cheap, because I have 8 kids and I'm not a person. I'm staring at my Canon here. Yeah, I do like Canon, but I'm sorry. That's not plan. That is my one brand. I love Canon. Canon, you should sponsor me, by the way. All right. The reason why I have more followers than those people is because I learned this. I will support you as much as I can every single day on social media. I will not just give you a one-word cool or great or awesome quip. I'm not going to send you a DM or a spam message ever. And I'm never going to treat you like you're my next sale. The problem with social media is it's anything but social. People don't talk about real life. They don't talk about their imperfections. It's a lot of phony. And that's why you fail. You have to be authentic. And I'm not talking about pretending to be authentic. I'm not talking about like, I got the phone in my hand at dinner time, and my I'll make my kids are pissed at me because I'm not spending enough time with them. I'm working. Again, I'm not saying it's the healthiest way to be. I shouldn't be your role model. But you can take some of these things that I'm teaching you and you can apply them and you can be better, right? So take whatever time that you have dedicated to social media, even if it's 15 minutes a day, let's just do some math real quick, right? 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, you're not making posts. You're going to be on that one platform where your prospects or avatar, your potential clients are going to be. You're going to be making comments on their posts for 8 of those 10 minutes. You're going to make comments. You can search for their content. I'm going to share with you a secret that I usually only share in my $1,000 seminar. I didn't share earlier today. That's the only reason to share it now for free. Probably watch it online. You should have been here. I have a YouTube channel, right? On it, I have a video. It's how to bookmark your favorite social media personalities and content creators and those prospects. I want you to find that video. It's been seen thousands and thousands of times. Find it. It's a couple years old now, but find it and watch it. It's like 6 minutes or something. I will show you how to find these people that you want to, like Brian Jackson. He's somebody that I want to support. There's a lot of people in this room that I want to support, especially after today. So what I will do is I will bookmark them as a favorite, but I'll show you how to bookmark them because there's actually a little bit more to it than that. Watch the video and get the exact specifics. But that can help me get to more people faster, right to their posts. Because every second and every click takes time. So if I only have 8 minutes, I spend way more than 8 minutes. But most people, 15 minutes a day, if you spend that 5 minutes a week, you're on it for an hour, just over an hour, 15 minutes. You can build an incredible following if you follow that strategy. Just remember, 15 minutes a day, you're going to be spending 10 minutes of the 15 minutes on the one platform, and you spend 8 of the 10 minutes on that platform just to make comments. That means you got 2 minutes to make your post. You're not as funny as you think you are. You're not as brilliant probably as you think you are. It's okay. You don't have to be, because let me tell you something interesting. If you fill out your profile correctly, like I taught you to earlier, fill out your profile the way I taught you to earlier today on every platform using that same idea, and then you're making 8 minutes of contributions to people, you could probably do 8 to 10 comments a day. Times 5, that's 40 to 50 comments per week. And you've got 40 to 50 new friends, especially if you bookmark some of those people. Now you're making comments on their posts like once every week or once every couple days. See what I'm saying? They start to see you. We talked about that as a job search strategy. And I teach that on Project Help You for free. It's free. No ads. Doesn't cost anything. It's 100% free. In my introduction, the reason why I had Joel talk about my 25 years career in sales is because I've sold more in my life than most people could ever imagine possible. Not more than Eric Levine. That guy's got me about $1 billion. But I've sold millions of dollars of products in my life. And I will tell you that I have never been a high pressure sales rep, ever. And the exact opposite. You will find me talking about anything but the product. You'll find me not being derelict in my duties, but I'm trying to build trust and respect. Because here's what I've found. As soon as you earn their trust and respect, they will seek you out. They will come to your profile, and they will actually read it, and they will want to know, and they will ask you questions. You won't have to spam them. You don't have to put up these really brilliant posts, because they care about you now. They want to see you succeed. They're invested. I can guarantee you, if I asked Ryan right now, he could tell you all about what I offer, and he would recommend me. If I asked you the number one source of your business, I guarantee you every single person in this room owns a business will say referrals. Social media is the place where you can build your referral army. Too many of you are spending your time on social media trying to find clients. That's why you're failing. Find your affiliate army. You have somebody in the room, Selena, hello. She'll help you build an affiliate company. It's low-hanging fruit. 100% is low-hanging fruit. Okay. Last tip on social media. You are not the police officer for ethics and morals of the world. Sarcasm, while it feels so good, trust me, I struggle with this one. I love sarcasm. My brother from another brother, Travis, is back there. Joel too, by the way. Joel's back there.
Where you going?
Yeah.
Why am I getting singled out?
Because I love you, brother. And you like everything. All right. So here's the thing. Sarcasm, for those who know you and those who love you, is totally cool. But on social media, it'll kill you fast. Because there are so many people. Let me put it to you this way. When there were 720 million people on LinkedIn, which now there's more than that, there's over 760, minus the bots, however many bots there are. But there were 720 million people on LinkedIn at the time this data was accurate. There was less than 1 million people who had ever made a post. 760 million people on it, less than 1 million content creators had ever made a post. What you think you know about social media, you don't actually know. It's a shadow game. You know those people who are in your church or in your community soccer league or whatever, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, your HOA, whatever, right? Even your family. They're watching you from a distance. You don't even know they're watching. They don't really know you, but they are watching. And they see that sarcasm, or they see that argument with that troll, or they see that if you don't like this, then unfriend me. Are you dumb? Are you not? Are you really that dumb? Why are we on social media? To get business. Your responsibility is to live up to your moral code, whatever that is. But your business shouldn't be to exclude those who may have a different perspective, especially if it's a piece of it, right? It's not the whole thing, maybe you saw a sliver. So be careful, because your words are evergreen on social media. Do you understand what that means? So evergreen, it never goes away. I get people who delete their profile on Project Help and Grow or other websites, and they go, I instantly do it. No, duh. Because it's on the internet, it's never gone away. Do you understand how the internet works? No, they don't. But let me tell you this, whatever you put on the internet, it's there. You think you deleted it, you deleted your browsing history, good for you. You don't understand how this really works. Do a little bit of education. Trust me when I tell you. It never goes away. Okay? So be careful of being seen as snarky or mean, because your job is, remember what I said about LinkedIn, what's the primary role of LinkedIn? It's marketing. It's marketing. Your social media is marketing. So you wouldn't hire somebody like Bowman Digital Media to go out there and be sarcastic to your prospects. You would fire us. You should fire us. Right? You represent your brand all the time. You have to be really, really smart about how you use your words. So do this. You see something you don't like. You got that mouse or that finger, and you just keep doing this. It just keeps growing. If it really bugs you, and it's something that you can delete, and just delete it. Hit that block button. Hit that hide button. Too many people want to fight. What are we doing here? We're trying to make money. We're trying to build our reputation. We're trying to increase our visibility. They say all press is good press. I agree with that. Because there's companies, I was trying to think of that exercise bike company. How long, what was it?
Hold on.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. King of the world. They made one faux pas. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. Check it out. They almost went out of business. They went from making so much money they couldn't count fast enough to like they were in danger of shutting the whole thing down. I think they made a rebound. But we have to be careful. We have to be very, very careful. Social media is not what people think it is. Hopefully, this has been helpful on how you can supercharge your efforts on social media. Now, I'm going to open it up for questions. So, let me just do this. I'm supposed to be done now, but we're going to be finished in 13 minutes. So, if you have a question, you want to raise your hand. Audience, thank you so much. We can just leave it live until I say it. We're not taking any questions from the video. We're just going to take it from those in the audience. So, yes, sir.
So your friend, right, has a friend in Japan, and then that person's not connected to you directly, but if that your friend likes your post, that third connection will see it on their feed. Is that how it works? Or?
It can, yes. So I'm going to kind of try to summarize this question so that people online, they didn't hear. So basically the question is this: why are the first, second, and third level connections? I'm not going to reteach that, but here's the thing. You have a follower or somebody that you're not connected to. They're not necessarily going to see, in fact, if they're not following you, you're not connected to them, they will not see your posts, even if they search for hashtags or whatever. But if somebody you're connected to likes, shares, or comments on something that I wrote, and they're not connected to me or following me at all, they potentially see it. It's in the algorithm's purview at this point. It can be or it can't be. If for some reason it doesn't choose to show them that in the feed, and you're just a follower, they're just a follower, and at that point it's dead. It's like it didn't exist. But if they're connected to me, there's still a chance if you search it to find it. Yeah, so that's a really gray area one, but yeah.
Because I've seen that happen. I'm not all. And it most likely had to do with how popular that was happening.
You have to remember what I said earlier, that all these are websites. People think of them as social media, they forget that they're websites. And one of their business models, their revenue streams, is advertising. So the more engagement you get, the more popular, the more dwell time, views, shares, all that stuff, that all goes into the formula on how something can be distributed. I guarantee you when Elon Musk puts something up, it's going to get a bigger, what I call splash rate. That is a technical term that I use. If you don't understand that, what it means is the original momentum or the acceleration rate that post launches at. It's going to be greater than if Ryan Jackson put the name of the post. No offense to Ryan Jackson, but it counts a little bit small, right? So there are so many factors that goes in. If I come and comment on one of your posts, you might go from getting 50 views to 10,000 views in an hour. You're like, what the heck happened? You never figured it out, right? I just wrote about ponies, and ponies got 10,000 views. I'm gonna write about ponies every single day, and all the rest of them, it's crickets. I've had that experience with some of my friends who have millions of followers, and I'm like, wow, that was a great post. And all it was they came, they blessed my post with their presence, right? So that's one of those things that I do tell people, if you didn't make friends with people with larger networks, let's call them, following to people on social media platforms, you're generally smart to try to connect with them, right? So I mean, it sounds self-serving because I have a large audience on a couple platforms, but there's people with millions of followers, right? If you could get Simon Sinek to come to your post and make a comment, it will change your world. You don't even know it, but it would change your world. Right now, he's not going to do that probably for most people, but he does every once in a while. I've seen him make comments on people's posts, so it is possible. How do you do it? I have a friend in Canada who's basically just like a NASA type engineer, software developer guy. Not very like what do you want to say, introverted and not social media, but on that stuff. And he got on Gary Vee's show, got flown out to New York City on Gary Vee's show because he was making smart comments on Gary Vee's posts on a daily basis, and finally picked up on it. And so they called him and said, hey, we really like you, would you like to be, on the show with Gary Vee? Actually, because now his whole money making, the way he makes money, changed because he had that appearance on Gary Vee's show. Gary Vee has like 6 million followers on LinkedIn. So there you go. Being a media, he's not very big media. Any other questions I've answered? Yeah.
Does the connections they work the same if it's an organization that has a lot of followers or a lot of viewers?
Depends on the platform, but typically, generally speaking, yes. The more you have as a platform, whether you're a business, a nonprofit organization, a school, an individual, a group, the more momentum you have. LinkedIn works a little bit differently in the way that their algorithm is configured, and this is one of the reasons where people hire influencers to work for the brand, because it uses the individual, not the business or organization's stats. So, for example, you have business XYZ. You have Ryan. You have Ryan, Blue University, we're going to do it, right? Okay, Blue University has a business page. We have Ryan in there, we have Ira in there. Ryan makes a post, uses the same words, the same day, posts it off, and he gets 100 views. Did he do anything wrong? Not necessarily. He used his algorithm. Ira does the exact same thing, same words, same everything. He puts it out and we get 50,000 views. What's the difference? The difference was LinkedIn used Ira's personal algorithm versus Ryan's. But if you're on Facebook, it doesn't work that way. Facebook, we have the exact same results, suspiciously. So you just have to understand how each individual platform works. Great question. Anyone else? Questions? No? Great, let's go home. All right, to wrap this show up, first of all, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I really, really appreciate it. Go ahead and shut us down. The Supercharger was, like I said, something that I dreamt up. Fletcher